It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He is Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley as we begin a Tuesday. Gary, how are you?
I'm doing, okay.
All right, good.
Hanging in there.
All right.
You know?
1 week from now, Biden will no longer be president.
Man, I'm telling you. Well, we'll get to that in just a moment. But again,
Also, 1 week from now, someone will have to tell Biden he is no longer president.
But again, we need to talk about the Republican Party and music.
Yeah?
And Trump surrogate Charlie Kirk mellow out a little bit.
Yeah.
The Village people are going to play Mar-a-Lago. The Village people are going to be part of the inauguration. The Village people, exciting news. For God's sakes, get a damn life. The Village people?
Now, I might have done that for Judas Priest, but not the Village people.
I saw that today. I'm like, dude, get a life, for God's sakes. Now, I've actually seen the Village people live.
Yeah? Was it, they still have the original lineup? Is it a...
I have no idea. They're sort of like Kiss. You just throw on the costume.
Yeah, right.
Now, I didn't actually pay to go see them, and the intent was not to see them.
You tried to avoid them. They were stalking you.
No, they played halftime of a college football game that I was at.
All right. Okay. They got to be in their 80s by now, right?
The one guy seems like a good dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I mean, if they're still doing, you're still doing shows.
Yeah,
you know, then go do the shows. I mean, if people are still showing up.
So is
now,
this
like
going to create
show up intentionally?
Is this going to create a Carrie Underwood Taylor Swift rift now because Carrie Underwood's going to play the inauguration at one of the inauguration events?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I think it'll all be over January 21st.
It's like.
Everybody will forget about it. Yeah.
Did you see there's like about a 5-minute clip on YouTube, Jim Brewer after the election, the comedian Jim Brewer. Oh, my gosh. He goes, I just like to sit back and watch the circus.
Yeah, exactly.
I just sit back and watch the circus. They're eating dogs and cats. They're eating dogs and cats. And he goes, Nazis, Nazis, they're all Nazis, Nazis, Nazis.
That's pretty much it. He's doing what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Except he makes weirder faces.
Exactly.
He does have this great ability to transform his face into almost a human face that looks almost alien in its expressions.
Yes. Yeah.
And he is just...
Yet his eyes never change. The stoner eyes are constant.
So funny. And he's addressed that in his stand-up comedy. Yeah. Look, I know. What was the movie he was in about being stoned all the time?
Oh, it was yeah. I have to look it up. It was like a B movie kind of thing.
But he dressed, I'll never forget, he goes, I know. I look like I'm high. I'm not, but that's my normal face.
Exactly.
My normal face is I look like I'm high. I meet people, they go, hey, you want to do this? Why would I? Well, because you're high now. No, that's my sober face.
Right. Exactly.
Oh, my gosh. But, yeah, it was when I was social media and I saw Charlie Kirk put that on. The Village people, the Village people. I'm like, we are definitely not in the same musical genre.
Yeah, no,
the excitement and
right.
And also Brewer did the whole thing with Hulk Hogan. It's, the circus. Oh, brother!
Yeah.
Vote for Trump.
You had Kid Rock and Hulk Hogan at the convention.
Oh, and then he did. Eminem.
Oh yeah.
For Harris, he goes, You're 50 years old. Stop wearing the hoodie.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, whatever, however old he is, I don't know but
yeah, I think he is. I think he's in his 50s. Yeah.
Really, it was just so fun.
Will the real Slim Shady please sit down? You're gonna get tired.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. Everybody's losing their mind. I don't care about any of that, except for the fact that, look, swear them in. Let's get it over with. Let's go. Let's move on. Let's get the work started.
Well, you had mentioned during our pre-show meeting, and in fact, your mention was the only thing of substance in our pre-show meeting.
I think it's the only thing that either of us said. Yeah.
Yes, it was the only thing.
We didn't say anything.
So our 8-second pre-show meeting was you saying, oh, my God, they won't get off to climate change.
Yeah, ABC News. Researchers say that leaders basically all over the U.S. should be prepared for climate disasters. And I've got a picture of the wildfires.
The reason I brought it up is there's a new word. There's a new phrase.
Okay.
And it was the Wall Street Journal editorial page. California's wildfire climate excuse. Look out now for, are you ready for this?
Yeah.
We have a new term.
All right.
Hydroclimate whiplash is what we're experiencing.
Hydroclimate whiplash.
Look out for hydroclimate whiplash coming to a media website near you. That's the term that the left is suddenly using to explain the Los Angeles wildfires, or to put it more baldly, to change the subject from the failure of the state and local government to contain fires that often accompany Santa Ana winds. The theory is of hydroclimate whiplash.
Yeah.
I don't know. I keep thinking of Snidely Whiplash keeps coming into my mind.
Right.
The theory is that climate change caused 2 especially wet winters in California in 2023 and 2024. This led to lush vegetation growth. Perhaps you recall the stories about the blooming desert and the wildflower explosion. But in recent months, the theory goes, climate change has also caused a dry spell that has turned vegetation into tinder for fires. Ergo, hydroclimate whiplash. So rain is climate change. No rain is climate change. Cold is climate change. Warm is climate change. Humid is climate change. Dry air is climate change.
Only jerks use the word ergo when they talk, but only real jerks use it when they write. Ergo, I don't read what they write.
Well, that was the Wall Street Journal, though.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just it is the observation that all of us have made for years about the religion that is the left. They live and die on this climate change. And the reason is because we talked about it yesterday. It's one of those ultimate fears. You know, you have to have, well, the world is ending. You don't want the world to end, do you? This is why they had COVID in the perfect place. Tell everybody if they breathe on somebody, that person's going to die. If somebody breathes on them, they're going to die. They got to wear a mask. They got to stay home. They got to get vaccines. They got to do everything we tell them. 6 feet apart. 6 feet. We measured it. This is the left. Anything to grab control, and climate change has been there for decades. 1989. If you live in D.C. by the year 2000, you'll be taking a gondola to work.
Well, one of the things that we've always brought up, because we've been dealing, with this from, from the 70s, early 70s, when I remember that we were heading towards another ice age. Mm-hmm. And by the way, that is where scientifically we are heading, in between 6,000 and 10,000 years, another ice age because of the rotation, tilt of the planet and everything else. Another ice age will be coming.
In Texas, we're going to have one this weekend.
Exactly. But when you look at every single prediction from the left of mass destruction or massive changes, oceans rising, polar ice caps, no ice on the polar ice caps, not one has come true. And so the question that we have always asked the left, if every single prediction you have made of an apocalypse, a climate apocalypse, if every single one hasn't come true, do you think it's time to question those that are promoting that theory? And every single, every single prediction of major climate chaos has not come true.
Well, it's, again, they have to come up with these words that they can start using, over and over again. They did this with illegal aliens. That became, for a minute, immigrants. They didn't get away with that. Then they used temporarily displaced travelers. They actually used that phrase to describe them. Climate change has been everything from global warming to, I don't know, baby rose petals. I mean, just throw anything out there to get somebody's attention, but you got to change it. The thing is, this is the thing about a lie. It has to constantly evolve to withstand, because you put pressure on it, all of a sudden, but, well, this is the ultimate lie. Because they can get away, when they changed it from global warming to climate change.
Right. And then any event.
Any and every.
Is now.
Well, they pointed out here, okay, if it's too rainy, that's climate change. If it's too dry, climate change.
Right.
If it's too cold, climate change. If it's too warm, climate change.
We've talked about if you land at DFW, especially if you come in from the north. From the south, you'll see some. But if you come in from the north, you see all these lakes. And I can't tell you the number of times that people that have come into town and, to visit me, family members, whatever, they go, wow, we didn't know, Texas has so many lakes. Mm-hmm. They're all over the place. It's like, well, they're all man-made.
Mm-hmm.
What are you talking about? Well, except for, Caddo Lake on the, that borders Louisiana and East Texas, every single lake that you see is man-made.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason you see all those lakes, and they've got there's 50 to 100 year plans of where the new lakes have to go because of the growing population.
They just built one about 20 minutes northeast of here.
Yeah. The number one reason to stop flooding in those areas. The number one reason all these lakes exist is so when you have a major, rainstorm, especially downtown Dallas, isn't under 15 feet of water.
Right. There's an area not far from my house. It's a town that's it's the adjacent suburb to the town I live in, and they didn't properly manage their water flow from a creek that's been there for a long time. Well, we're on the down end of that creek, and because they had developed so quickly apartment buildings, they took basically a park, this huge area that was all grass, and now it's all cement and buildings and everything else. So the water doesn't absorb. It flows, it goes somewhere, right? It's going to end up in that creek. Well, that creek, the first major rain that we had, there's a part of the neighborhood just north of my house where the water came up. And if you saw how high these houses are off the street, every house is basically on a hill and slopes down to the center, and that creek is in the center. But that water reached the doors and garages of that house for the first time ever. They said, first time it's ever gotten that high, because they didn't manage the water properly. That's just a small example of what can happen, as you point out, in Texas. And in most areas, if you're going to, if you have a population, you think about Los Angeles and well, California in general, and the mismanagement of water altogether.
Yeah, just in general. Yeah, forget about wildfires. Just
right.
in general.
In general, the mismanagement of water, it's criminal.
It is.
And we've been over this, I don't know how many times over the years, because they just refuse to do anything about it. And, you started out yesterday's show with symbolism. It's all about symbolism, no substance whatsoever. And Gavin Newsom has failed, but he's not the only one. No. He's in the long line of Democrats and liberals who have failed that state and the people of California over and over again. If you think about the basic need, remember when we talked about it, everybody was talking about the gold standard, and we were talking about, well, wait a minute, if you're looking for a tangible item of value when everything goes to hell, then the most valuable thing is going to be water, right?
Water and food, yeah.
Yeah. So, you think about the very basics of life. To sustain life, it starts with water.
And we know that because we both watched the Book of Eli.
Exactly.
And nobody was worried about gold.
No. Remember when they found that water well?
Yeah.
Yeah, along the way. Yeah. It was great.
We got a great show ahead, 866-90 Red Eye.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. Starting and charging system-related issues are one of the most common causes of winter breakdowns. So when your batteries talk, it's important you listen. Knowing the warning signs that could indicate your electrical system needs attention can help you avoid getting stuck out in the cold this winter. Your truck's inability to crank at the proper speed is the most obvious sign that a battery-related issue is present. If you experience any sluggishness when cranking your engine, get a full electrical system check from a trusted service provider. Continuing to crank a vehicle with low or inadequate voltage will damage the starter and can cost you uptime down the road.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
Tonight Radio, he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up following the bottom of the hour, some great audio from CNN yesterday about climate change and whether Americans buy into the climate change has anything to do with wildfires. And wait till you hear this, because because they're already, the guy who led into it was basically, it was Harry Enton, who does, all the polling and stuff like that. And, but it comes in saying, we know that climate change contributes. He doesn't say it, but the anchor does. We know that climate change contributes to these things happening. No, you don't. You don't know that.
No.
And it's funny, the response that he gets from it. So we'll get to that. Also, we'll get to Special Prosecutor Weiss on Hunter Biden. Oh, man, that was just like, boom.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, there's nothing new here. We knew all of this already.
Right, yeah.
There's nothing new here. It's just the special prosecutor saying that the evidence actually exists. And also, Jack Smith is out, and will they release some of the investigations of Trump? You see, Margot Cleveland said that the media is reporting that, okay, they can release it now. It goes, that's not what they said.
Right.
The decision on that is still to be made on Friday by the judge.
Right.
And it's just amazing. She was saying it's amazing how the media completely gets something wrong.
Yeah, they ran with it. Yeah. It was, pretty much breaking news.
As if, Jack Smith was, going to release it, and now it was cleared to be released. It hasn't been cleared to be released yet.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Harley Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and if you can't listen to your favorite radio station overnight, you can hear all 5 hours on our app.
And thank you. It's
yes.
free.
You're right. And then our podcast begins. We stream the show, and then we podcast the show.
Right. So if you wake up late or something, you get in late, you could, wait a minute, I can catch up. And in not long after the show's done, the podcast is up, and you can catch up from the beginning.
Yep.
Love it.
I watched yesterday on YouTube. It was like an hour and a half, and I watched about 30 minutes, and I just got a sick feeling, and it was a car just going up and down Palisades, Pacific Palisades, up and down all the different suburban streets. Yeah. And it just, we're talking about totally solid, street after street, house after house. We're not talking about like on the side of the hill where you may have a house on, 5 acres and then another house, 1,000 feet away. We're talking about homes that are close together.
Yeah.
It is, you just wonder how flames like this work, a wildfire like that works, because you would go down and they go down a street, you'd see 25 homes burnt, and then one not touched at all.
Right.
And then every house after that burned.
Right.
And I started thinking to myself, it's got to be horrible for everybody, but what if you're the one person where your house is fine?
Right.
When are you going to have electricity? When are you going to have utilities? When are you going to have services back? What is it like to go back to a house where the whole neighborhood is gone? You have, no neighbors, nothing. I mean, it's just, it's... And then to see, because not all the trees, there would be trees that weren't burned.
Right.
There'd be a ton of trees burned. All of a sudden you'll see, my gosh, they weren't burned. And all of a sudden you'd see all these manicured plants out front. The house is completely gone, and all these beautiful manicured plants out. And I'm telling you, I got this sick feeling.
Yeah.
I had to turn it off, because I couldn't handle it. I can't imagine if that's where you live.
Yeah.
And so, will there be a reckoning here? I don't know. I mean, we saw yesterday there was at least 100,000 people saying that the mayor has to go. We know the stuff that's been thrown at Newsom. But all this stuff that you see, for example, he also said, by the way, all the regulations for building homes is now gone, and the response on social media was, well, you guys put them there.
Yeah, that's the climate change regulations that you guys put in place, and you're going to exempt them. Oh, well, we'll just exempt them, through executive order from the governor's office so you can rebuild. Well, wait a minute. What is it you're trying to do then?
And it's just, as you said before, Bass is pretty new, as we know. Newsom, has been in office, and he's been a part of the state government for the longest time. But the Democrats have controlled all of California for decades.
Yep. They're just the two that are that are leading right now in the case of L.A. and in the governor's office. This is a long line of policies that have been going on. It seems like forever. You and I have been talking about it for years, but I remember talking about this long before I was in talk radio.
Yeah,
just in conversations, in the news, and the debate going back and forth. Should there be thinning? Should they do this? How do they control the wildfires? What about the water? And they got away with, for the longest time, well, we can't control a drought. You can control the water you do get.
Well, and that's why I just mention the state of Texas and the number of lakes you see, all around the major population areas, where people are surprised when they go, well, there's dozens of lakes. They go, they're all man-made. No way, they're huge lakes. Yeah, they're man-made. I said, number one, for flooding. Number two, for water. And number three, for recreation.
Right.
But the first two, especially the first one and the second one, are the most important ones. And because they know Texas is going to continue growing, you see it going on right now. Wherever they want to build a new massive lake, the local community throws a fit.
Mm-hmm.
And understandably so. Is where I live. You want to take it for a huge lake.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah. But that's what you have to do if you're planning for the future. And you made the case, you said, we talked at last segment, forget about the wildfires just for a second. Just water management in itself is complete insanity in California.
Right.
And think about it. Energy, electricity, and water.
Mm.
Liberals are trying to do everything to assure you don't have plentiful water and cheap energy or consistent energy.
Right.
The two things that are absolutely necessary for a modern society, water and energy, and they're doing everything to ensure that there's not enough for a growing population in huge metro areas.
Right.
And you go, what the hell's going on? There was an article written in the Wall Street Journal about basically stupidity, defining stupidity. And they specifically are talking about Biden at this point, all the things that Biden has done, which hurts the citizens and does you no political good at all.
Right.
And it's like, why are you doing that?
Well, and we see it over and over again. There's the agriculture in California. Again, you have to battle Mother Nature. But then on a bigger level, you have to battle the decision makers and the policy makers at the state level that determine what's going to be available to you in terms of water, your entire business. And it's been going on for decades. I don't expect anything to change here, only because it's been going on for so long. I don't know what would change here. You know, the news got out yesterday, the word getting out about possible recall effort for Newsom. We've been there with Newsom. I expect he would survive that politically. Maybe not. This past weekend was pretty bad, and only time will tell how damaging it is politically to him or the Democrats that run that state. But I don't have any expectation that there's going to be a change in the guard, that conservatives are going to be running California anytime soon. I'd love to be wrong. Love to be wrong about that.
You know, it's an article by Barton Swaim, who's an editorial writer at the Wall Street Journal, part of the editorial staff. And the article was Biden, Trump, and the Meaning of Stupidity. The politics, in politics as in life, the stupid person causes others to lose and gains nothing for himself. Mm-hmm. And you think about it, and on water and energy, for example, where they have done everything to attempt to limit what the population has. Mm-hmm. And you say, why? Why would you do that? And by the way, they put he talks about a book, an economic historian that wrote a book and called The Basic Laws of Human Stupidity, and said there are basically 4 categories of stupidity: helpless, abandoned, intelligent, and stupid. And well, I'm not going to get into the entire book there, but stupidity, actually what stupidity is, because the others he throws out and he gets into a whole different thing about how people believe that's stupid, but then there's really stupid, and stupid is when you cause others to lose and you gain nothing for yourself. And to me, when I read that, and that's what they're trying to make the point about Biden, doesn't make the larger case for liberalism overall, which they should. But when you think about it, when you get to water and energy and the policies of what you see in California are absolutely insane. Mm-hmm. They're absolutely insane. The government works against the best interest of the people. Now, people keep voting them in. But overall, if you look at Biden and Biden promoting things that hurt the population and doesn't do him any political good. That's why they lost.
Right.
And it's like, how will that? My question would be, take it under the umbrella of liberalism and say, where does liberalism go? Because that's one of the questions that you and I have had. If you continue to work against the best interest of the people, if your goal is to keep parsing into different groups, more victims and oppressors, you're not about uniting people by saying we're a party that wants to build for you and make your life easier and make sure you have the necessary resources to live and have a better quality of life. And you say, no, we want to go in the opposite direction. We want to raise the cost of everything, limit what you can have. And you just go, why?
Right. What are you trying to accomplish?
Right. What are you trying to? Yeah. Well, we're trying to save the planet. Well, people don't buy it anymore. Let me play this here. This is from Harry Enton at CNN about whether people are buying in as they have to the whole wildfires or climate change. Therefore, the solution is tax the people more.
Right.
To save the world. Is the public buying it still?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think Americans are making this connection. And the way we can see this in right here and now, take a look at the monthly change in Google searches. Look at the searches for wildfire, up 2,400%. My goodness gracious, this is the most amount of people searching for wildfires ever, going back since Google Trends began back in 2004. But look at climate change. Look at the change. It doesn't go hand in hand with wildfires. It's actually down. It's down 9%. And I also looked in California. There has been no increase in the number of searches for climate change. So the bottom line is this. Americans are definitely interested in learning about these wildfires. They're interested in following the news about the wildfires, but they are not making that connection with climate change.
Well, yeah, because as we've said, you've been lying about it for the longest time, and every single prediction of massive catastrophe because of climate change, none of it has come true.
Yeah, they're not buying it.
Right.
It's not that they're not making a connection. No, they're not buying
it. Right. You know, notice the insult.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're not making the connection.
Yeah, they're
How
too
could you be
stupid to know
you
it's
can't
climate change.
Make the connection.
Exactly.
No. Even if you do believe in it. And that's the problem. That's one of the problems that's happened over the last couple of years is there's more influence from people like Michael Schellenberger and, for example, Bjorn Lomborg that we've talked about many times. Now, they believe that man-made, climate change, that man is affecting it. Now, they don't talk about what degree it is. They're not sure because who actually is? Who knows man's impact in this huge biosphere? Nobody really knows. But they believe it, but they say everything that the liberals are doing is the opposite of what the liberals should be doing. And I think people are starting to listen to that going, oh, okay, these are absolute people that say the world's going to be destroyed in the next 3 or 4 or 10 years, which isn't reasonable. There's the other people over there that say there is no man-made climate change at all. And there's the people over here saying, well, yeah, we probably believe there is some effect from man, but everything the liberals are doing is wrong. That encompasses a huge portion of the population from those who don't believe man-made climate change is happening to those who believe, yeah, it might be happening, but you're doing everything wrong. And it's obvious with wildfires because if you live in California, you know what the debate has been for the longest time.
Right, exactly. Even the hardcore climate activists, Greta, she doesn't want government involvement. She thinks you're taking the money and doing the wrong thing with it. Now, she's, again, hardcore climate activist, but even then, you're not connecting with them on the government level.
866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, my favorite headline. I'm just scanning here.
Yeah.
My favorite headline from Breitbart. Star Wars star Mark Hamill bravely announces he won't watch Trump's inauguration.
Bravely. Very brave.
Well,
What a hero.
apparently, the word brave now has a new definition to it.
Yes. Yeah.
Bravely.
Bravely
I am not
announces.
going to watch Trump's inauguration.
Yeah.
I will not.
What a hero. Luke, who's your daddy? That's that's the only question I have.
He won't watch the MAGA Force.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet.
That
Earth,
we're trying
that
to
is.
save.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Boy, right up till the end,
Yeah, what?
the media wanted to ask the president some questions about the California wildfires.
Oh.
The staffers didn't like that.
No.
You ready for this?
Here we go. Remember when I said 1,000 kids in a gymnasium screaming all at the same time?
Yes, that's his staff.
Yeah.
And you know about his final foreign policy speech. I mean, it's like keep talking, keep destroying the legacy, whatever legacy there would be in your administration. Because
you brought it up last hour, and the question. All right, but they're doing all these things to what end? And Biden, doing things that really politically don't serve him. I don't think he cares.
I don't think the left cares because I think it's a leftist problem. It's just not a Biden problem.
Right? No, it is. It's definitely falling on the party. But in terms of him, on his way out the door, I just don't think he cares. You and I both believe he's never cared about his legacy. His legacy is going to be what he thinks his legacy
Exactly.
is. Jack.
Right.
I would have won. I mean, he's so predictable. When we said that, we said it before the election that if she loses, he's going to spend, some serious time saying I would have won. He finally got around to it.
Yeah.
And look, it's an easy prediction to make because of his nature, just paying attention to Joe Biden for decades. And that's who he is. I can't wait. If there's going to be a sit-down interview at some point or a book written, the problem with the book is going to be what? Well, he didn't actually write it. Not only is it a ghostwriter, but he was a ghost. He was never around. He didn't write the book himself at all. So you got Hunter over in the corner filling in all the facts. I would love to see him do just a sit-down interview. I want Biden to go on Joe Rogan after he's done. January 21st, Joe Rogan.
3 hours.
Please make that happen. Oh.
Well, you were referencing what we were talking about in the first hour and the op-ed piece in the Wall Street Journal, Biden, Trump, and the meaning of stupidity.
Yeah.
And talking about how, it's like wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Yeah. Right. Oh, yeah, Trump's smart. Like Trump is dumb, but, Biden is smart. And it's like, as he writes, in politics as in life, the stupid person causes others to lose and gains nothing for himself. And you look at it, it was obvious it's not just Biden, it's where the Democratic Party is going.
Mm-hmm.
And you can look at the border. The whole concept of the border was let us get illegals into the country, and we will get them citizenship, and then they will vote Democrat.
Yeah.
The opposite has happened. So they did something that hurt the citizens of the United States because of Governor Abbott. Remember, it was still the majority of migrants that were given temporary status in this country. The majority of them were sent to these cities by the federal government.
Mm-hmm.
But when Abbott started saying, hey, you want a free ticket there, boom, everything just blew up.
Yeah, because the liberal activist media, wanted to blame Abbott for it, and which, by the way, was a good thing,
yeah.
And it brought it to the surface. The entire conversation changed. Think about how many things backfired in recent years for the left.
Well, look at this here. Chicago official blames Brandon Johnson's new ICE guidelines. Who is the mayor trying to protect? Chicago officials slammed Mayor Brandon Johnson for issuing new guidelines for dealing with immigration and customs enforcement. Johnson on Friday released guidelines on how to handle ICE visits on city property while reaffirming his administration's commitment to the welcoming city ordinance. Bracing for change in federal administrations, the mayor office assured the city that they would continue to comply with the 2017 Illinois Trust Act, which prohibits local law enforcement from participating in federal immigration enforcement. Alderman Ray Lopez of the 15th Ward slammed Johnson's efforts. I am surprised, actually, that the mayor is going through this extraordinary effort to try and stop what aid? What we wish to do, we wish to remove a small number of individuals who choose to commit crimes in the city of Chicago. And the mayor doesn't wish to do that. Well, you look at it, what has happened has hurt the city of Chicago. Go to a city council meeting, and you and I talked about it, and it's not, it's just the white right wing that's protesting it. No, look at the city council meetings. That's not what you have there at all.
No.
You've got citizens of all ethnicities, nationalities, and religions screaming bloody murder that this money is not going to support them, and their taxes are going up not to support them, but to support what Biden was doing and what the Democratic Party wishes to do.
Yeah.
So they enact a policy. They lie about the policy. They lie and say the border is secure. Everyone knows it's not. Then they gaslight the American public on the lie. There is no benefit to the actual constituency of the United States, of the citizens of the United States. There is no upside. It's all negative. There isn't an upside here, and there isn't an upside politically. It was one of the reasons the Democrats lost.
Yeah.
And so you look at that. You look at, all right, let's just give money to everybody. Right?
Yep.
And initially it was like, oh, okay, yeah. And then inflation hit. So you enacted a policy of spending so much money, and the only thing that people remember is the massive inflation that you have caused over the last 3 years.
Right.
So you enact a policy. You were warned what was going to happen, that it was going to end up hurting the American public. You didn't care about it. You did it anyway. And then what do you end up with? You end up out of office because of the stupidity of doing something that harms the people that put you into office, and there is no upside politically to it. Defund the police.
Yep.
The same thing. That could only go in one direction. Let's get rid of the police. Remember the stupidity of the left.
Yeah.
What we need out there is not police officers. We need unarmed social workers.
Right.
Especially when it comes to when there's a domestic call We need social workers to answer that.
Right. That lasted about 10 minutes.
I mean, the absolute stupidity. Everybody knew what was going to happen. That was something that up front everybody knew wasn't going to work.
Yep.
And how did you know it wasn't going to work? Because it's just like when you poll people on Congress. Congress is doing a terrible job. My congressperson is great, and every poll showed it. When you had the abstract question asked about law enforcement, you had some people say, well, no, we don't like them. But when it came to their own police department, protecting them in their own local communities, which is the only thing that matters,
Right.
nobody was ever against the police.
Yeah. Don't touch the cops in my town.
Right. And so it was just, that is, I love it. That is the meaning of stupidity. The stupid person causes others to lose and gains nothing for himself. The quote from the Wall Street Journal op-ed piece.
Right.
And across the board on everything. You know, and we can look at the wildfires.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Climate change. Climate is all being caused by climate change. Climate change. We need to protect, you know, this fish, or we need to do this. We're not going to make sure. Think about this. And I think to focus on those two things that we did, energy and water.
Yeah.
Think about this. Energy and water. Things you absolutely need to have a quality of life.
Sustaining life.
Well, yeah, number one, not even a quality of life, having life.
Yeah.
And what are the two things, for example, liberalism in California has completely attempted to destroy? The ability to have adequate water and the ability to have consistent and cheap energy. Energy and water. Democrats don't give a damn about you having plentiful water and energy.
Nope. No.
And now it's hit. The wildfires have hit, and people are going, what the heck's going on? You know, with fire prevention, all these things. And again, the excuse from the Democrats is, well, you couldn't stop the entire fire. No, but you could control it.
Yeah, people could have been better prepared for it.
And I forgot where I forgot where I read the article yesterday talking about, you know, basically, you know, what you do, that you burn, you know, that in order to prevent it, what they should have been doing all along is not just clearing the undergrowth, but as we've talked about, control burns, where you burn huge areas. It's almost like it looks like a checkerboard where you have it, and so the fire can't jump as easy. It can't get to you.
Right.
And they went through the entire thing of it and what they weren't doing in California.
Right.
But it's like, well, if we can't stop the entire thing, well, then let everything burn. That's your answer?
No, I mean, that basically, they have an excuse for everything. They have an excuse for everything. You know, we had a really rainy season in Texas. The Brazos River empties into the Gulf. A lot of Texas oysters in that Gulf. A lot of industry from Texas oysters. And the word got out, well, the change in the water, because there's so much fresh water there at the mouth, was going to change it was going to, the oyster harvest it's going to be suffering, and it could be years. They don't know exactly, but it's a hard hit. Well, the fact of the matter is that you preserve the water and control the water for the people. If the delta smelt or whatever fish or oysters, you know, the industry is going to be hit hard. The oyster industry, harvesting in the Gulf, is going to be hit hard. Already is. But you still have to manage the water for the humans. You know, that's in California. Well, we're going to have to do this and we're going to have to do. They have been shutting it down, making it harder on people for ages, over and over. Other states don't, well, some other states do that, but nobody does it in terms of water like California does it.
Remember, though, when are you talking about a few years ago when we had the major rain?
This season, actually, yeah. It was this past
season. Yeah. Well, you remember, what was it, 2015, 2016, when we had the
spring of 2015.
Right. That's where you had, I mean, my lake was 3 times its size.
A friend of mine, he was building a private lake. All of his water for that lake that exists today, and it's a pretty big, private lake, came in that spring. Those floods in that spring filled his lake from dry to filled.
Ours was 3 times the volume.
Yeah.
Our lake, and then and then they couldn't, because I remember it was like in May, they didn't have it back under the flood zone. It was still high until October.
Yeah,
that's how long it took to drain all the lakes that were way over volume.
Yeah,
down the Trinity River all the way to to the Gulf of Mexico.
Right.
And so, but you had every single lake that had massive amounts of water in it, which is why they exist. And it's expensive to build these lakes. I mean, these lakes are huge.
Yeah.
I mean, some of these lakes are, 70, 80, 90, 100 miles long and, 10 miles wide.
Right.
The lake I live on isn't, but still that lake was built also when they were building the suburbs out that way for flood control.
Mm-hmm.
And then water, second in it, even though most of the water we get is from the ground.
Right.
That's the reserve in it. And that's what you have to do in a modern society.
Right.
And they choose not to do it. And we know the billions that have been wasted on things that have nothing to do with, I believe, what state government should be involved with.
Right.
The billions. And there's going to be a reckoning there. You see it already going, well, why are we spending $10 billion here? Why don't we have the ability to have water, yet we're building, the high-speed rail, which is costing, tens of billions of dollars.
Right.
It doesn't go anywhere yet.
Right, the train to nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, why aren't we taking care of the basic things and protecting our people first?
Right.
And so will California learn? I don't know. And by the way, we talk about Texas here, but Texas made horrible mistakes when it came to our own energy.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
We got the wind and the huge subsidies coming in and everything else. Well, yeah, we saw the cluster that happened in February of 21.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why, again, come next weekend, I had to start my pool back up. I'll be shutting down my pool because I don't trust the grid when it gets cold.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Which should never be the case.
No.
But that's because...
Not in an energy state.
No.
Ever.
No. Ever.
Nope.
Not in any state of the United States.
Nope.
866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
Leased owner-operators should be aware of 4 common revenue myths, lest you fall into the trap of mistaking revenue for profit. Myth 1, concentrate on increasing revenue because costs will take care of themselves. This is not true, as costs are fundamental to the profit equation and the area where owners exert the most control to improve. Myth 2, more revenue per mile is the answer to all problems. Though carrier pay packages differ in structure, revenue per mile really doesn't change much from company to company. But there can be a big difference in miles, overall gross revenue, reimbursements, and fees. Myth 3, all you have to do to be successful is run a lot of miles. In reality, revenue is only half of the profit equation. Costs are the other half. It's possible to generate a lot of revenue, yet spend $1.10 to make every dollar. Myth 4, you can tell how well you're doing by the size of your settlement check. The settlement check is only a part of the success picture. Miles driven, loads hauled, conditions, mechanical problems, time off, and especially costs all have to be considered. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more details on this and many other topics. Brought to you by Shell Rotella, with advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Don't expect that, well, I'm sure you didn't anyway, but don't expect that the mainstream media, the liberal media, the political activist media, the leftist, communist political activist media is going to mellow next week at all, or even this week. I've got a perfect example of that coming up following the bottom of the hour. And, of course, it comes from MSNBC's Joy Reid.
Yeah.
I've got the transcript in front of me. This is absolutely delusional. I mean, it's just, you just shake your head going,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Wow. Wait till you hear this coming up.
Catch all 5 hours of the show live every night on the Red Eye Radio app, available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thank you so much for being here this morning. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. You can listen to our podcast right after the show is over.
Yep.
You can listen to our podcast.
And if your favorite station, you can't listen for some reason on your favorite station, you can listen to all 5 hours live on the app every day.
All right. You ready for this?
What do you got?
Just so you can see how delusional MSNBC is going to continue to be.
Yeah.
Joy Reid on the wildfires. This is all a transcript, a quote. The worst part, other than the fires themselves, have been the lies. Though if there is one thing the billionaire right is, they are consistent. They want California, America's biggest state economy, because if they can take California and retrofit it with their ugly right-wing policies, the way they have destroyed Florida and Texas and every other red state, where poverty rates are high and education is warped, and non-white immigrants, pregnant women, victimized girls, and LGBTQ folks live in fear.
Poverty's the highest in California, right?
We know that, yes. Then the fight for permanent control of America is basically over. They can drill and frack California until the fires this past week pale in comparison. They can rip out all the forest and hand over the land to developers, Florida style. They can drive out the brown people and the black people and the Asian people, or just sink them into the same apartheid they've created in Texas.
Remember, they were calling the San Francisco area the whitest city and area.
Yeah.
One of the whitest in the entire country, because only the rich elite live there. Well, used to live there.
Let me repeat that one again here. They can drive out the brown people and the blacks and the Asian people, or just sink them into the same apartheid they've created in Texas.
Yeah. I'm sorry, apartheid.
What the hell is she talking about?
Are you kidding me?
And they will control.
By the way, it sounds like somebody who's never lived in Texas.
Yes. And they will control enough electoral votes if they control California to never have to worry about another presidential election. The billionaire right knows that they cannot take California home to Hollywood, San Francisco, and Kendrick Lamar by culture. So they're looking to try to take it with lies and deceit and by fire. You need to drug test her.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about pot.
No.
She's hallucinating on something big time.
Yeah.
What the hell is she talking about?
Well, she's counting on people who know nothing about other states.
Wow.
She's also counting on people who know nothing about California. She brings up poverty. Ding, 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 ding. We have a winner.
I'm going to see if I can try to just break this down here. This is the last quote she made. The billionaire right knows they cannot take California home to Hollywood. Oh, they cannot take California home to Hollywood, San Francisco, and Kendrick Lamar by culture. So they're looking to try to take it with lies and deceit and by fire. End of quote. Now you know why. Now you know why NBC's trying to get rid of MSNBC.
Yeah. Hey, anybody want to buy this crazy thing over here?
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love the fact that when they do buy it, whoever buys it has to change the name. Just go start your own channel. It's it is.
Oh, I thought you meant.
It's insane.
I thought you meant California. They're going to change the name because when the billionaire right, then take over California.
When we take over California, we may change the name. Maybe. We're thinking. We could swap names with Canada. I think we could.
The apartheid in Texas.
Yeah. What are you even talking about?
I mean, it's just...
As more and more Californians move to Texas voluntarily.
Have you ever been to Texas? Have you ever spent any time here? Do you understand how...
Apartheid.
Number one, how big Texas is, and how many cultures exist here in unity.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All for the same prosperous reason.
Yeah.
It's not just money and opportunity. That's a big part of it for families. But it's also being able to make choices for your family. Liberty. Imagine that.
I'm going to keep this story just to have it around to read it once in a while.
Yep.
To say, how did we start out? How did the Trump administration start out? How was the left covering things like the wildfire? And remember, MSNBC is still the number one network where liberals go. And this is what they're talking about on that network.
Apartheid in Texas.
In Texas.
You are delusional.
But I like they want California, America's biggest state economy, because if they can take California and retrofit it with their ugly right-wing policies, the way they've destroyed Florida and Texas and every other red state where poverty rates are high and education is warped and non-white immigrants, pregnant women, victimized girls, and LGBTQ folks live in fear, then the fight for permanent control in America is basically over. They can drill and frack California until the fires this past week pale in comparison. They can rip out all the forests and hand over the land to developers, Florida style. They can drive out the brown people and the black and Asian people, or just sink them into the same apartheid they've created in Texas.
Just say it and pretend it's true. That's what they do.
I can't stop reading it because I find it so damn entertaining because it is so absolutely delusional.
Yeah. Again, somebody who's never lived in Texas, clearly. And she's counting on people who have never lived in Texas and
or Florida.
Or Florida, or experienced what it's actually like in California. Poverty through the roof in California.
She was born in Brooklyn.
I
just wanted to see what her... Wow.
Yeah, and just, again, you just start a narrative and just say it without anything to back it up. Apartheid in Texas. All right, fine. Man, so much to unpack there, but, it's one of those things, you don't really need to unpack it. You kind of know. It's all in the same crazy box for a reason. Yeah.
Who's the billionaire right? Did she get specific on who the billionaire right is?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm guessing it's going to be Trump, Musk. Now you can probably, throw in a number of them. That it's Zuckerberg. I saw that yesterday. Well, I guess he's come out as a conservative. Tap the brakes on that. He might be. I don't know, but I wouldn't bet on it just yet. Bezos wanted to change things at the Washington Post, and then congratulating Trump on his win. You can't have that. I would say he's not a billionaire, but Joe Biden, with the whole welcome back thing at the White House. And give Hunter a minute. They'll be billionaires soon enough. Yeah. Just delusional.
And it's going to be enjoyable because they're going to get more delusional. There's just and it's going to be fascinating. I know where Republicans basically want to go. We have seen what Democrats have done in this last election. It got so bad when Kamala Harris was anointed. Was hand chosen by the Democrat Politburo, which that's sort of accurate.
Actually, it is.
That she pretended that every major issue that the Democrats held, she said she didn't believe in it, and then she started reversing again as it got closer to the election.
Yeah.
Remember? Remember, let's not forget. We cannot forget the entertaining parts of the last election. Kamala Harris's ads that immediately came out that Donald Trump was weak on the border and she would solve the border crisis.
Yeah.
That
She's
she would
stronger
be
on the border.
Right, that she
than
would be
Donald Trump.
Tough on the border. Remember,
Right.
That's what she came out of the box with.
Yep.
That was the first, I think, week or two, or first week to 10 days, those ads were coming out. Donald Trump failed you on the border. Kamala Harris will be tough on the border. It's like, wow.
Yeah. And she thought people were going to buy it. The left thought people would buy that. They had a group of individuals who decided that was a good idea for the campaign. Hey, this is our thing. I got something. What do you got? She's strong on the border. Wait a minute. Hold on. No, hear me out. She's stronger than Donald Trump on the border. Wow. You think people will buy that? Yeah, I do. You know what? So do I.
Did you see where
Let's spend millions of dollars on ads.
Did you see where Biden, this is funny, when he came out, a week and a half ago and said, I would have won. I could have won. And then he came out of just a couple of days ago and said, well, I think Kamala could have won too. What do you mean? She lost.
Yeah, right.
It's like,
she could have won. Yet, no. See, he's trying to do the whole Obama thing in 2016 after the election. Well, there was always a 20% chance he was going to win.
No.
This is after the election. The election's already happened.
Right.
Do you have a calendar? It's
right. The smartest man in the world didn't know.
Yeah. There's always a 20% chance. No.
Basic percentages when you win.
Yeah. After the fact. Yeah.
It's like when I was watching the Bills game the other day, and I was on my phone, and when they went up, I think it was 31-7. It said, and there was about 5 minutes left in the game. It was 99.8% chance they would win and 0.2% that they would lose. And I pointed this out to my Buffalo buddies who were screaming, all right, it's a lock. I go, it's not a lock. Right. Denver still has a 0.2% chance of winning. But after the game was over, the Bills had a 100% chance of winning.
Exactly.
Because they won.
Right.
Obama didn't seem the smartest man ever to be president of the United States
Right.
did not understand that after it, when you win, there is 100% chance
Right.
that you will win.
That's right. It was always a 20. No. It really is. What is coming around is that they believe people are stupid. We've been saying it for years. They believe you're stupid. And the rant by Joy Reid, anybody in office, the left believes you're stupid.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thank you for being here. Coming up following the top of the hour, Biden spoke yesterday. We'll have just 20 seconds of it.
All right.
Because the rest was, this was even, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, this was the Rush acceptance speech at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Yeah.
Blah, blah, yada, yada. Was that the last we saw of Karine Jean-Pierre yesterday?
I don't know.
It sounded like it was, by the way, the reporters were asking the question.
It kind of looked like they were wrapping up. Yeah. One last question. Could you get out? How soon can you get out?
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across the USA, Greenland. What did I see? What did somebody call the Gulf yesterday? I can't remember now. It was hilarious. I saw it on social media. Somebody made a meme out of it. It was
right.
It was the gulp of rum.
Not
the Gulf.
Not the Gulf. The gulp.
Gulp of rum.
All right. All right. That's a contender.
Why, that was fun. That was. I did like the Gulf of Buc-ee's. Has been, the Gulf of Texas.
Yeah, that was Governor Abbott's choice.
Yeah, it's
the Gulf. I think he would. I think for him a close second would be Buc-ee's. So yeah.
Today is my 5th anniversary of the Kaboom incident. I saw it on social media.
Oh, the Kaboom incident.
The Kaboom incident,
which is
when I, woke up to go to work at 10 p.m., showered, did everything, and back in 2020 when this happened, my hair was a lot longer, and during COVID, can't believe how long my hair got during COVID. I mean, now I keep it a lot shorter, but. It's like, okay, it's a little wild. I need a little hairspray. So I just grab, whatever's on the can of hairspray, whatever, and start spraying. All of a sudden, I go, this feels different. Turn on the light because the light from the other room was on. It wasn't even
right.
My hair's all purple. I had the Kaboom.
It was the Kaboom cleaner.
The Kaboom bathroom cleaner. And my head was all purple. I'm like,
but your hair had a nice shine to it, though.
Well, I took a shower. I had to take off all my clothes again, re-shower.
Yeah.
But my hair was mildew-free with no scum or scum residue.
Yeah.
So
that's good, though.
The Kaboom
squeaky
incident.
Clean.
Still one of my favorite stories, and that's the thing that we all. probably everybody has a story who has to work third shift and get up at just a weird time.
You
and
get
it's
dressed in the dark.
Yeah, you get dressed in the dark. It's you end up at work. You're like, oh, I've got two different colored socks on.
Yeah, no, I eliminate that. It's why I wear black T-shirt and jeans every day. You know how many black T-shirts I have? They're all in a row on the same side of the closet. They're all in the same place. So I don't have to even turn a light on. The jeans are right below them, and so socks, the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of psycho,
Who was it? Was it Einstein that did that? He had the same suits. He had just an entire closet full
either
of suits.
Genius or serial killer.
I'm going with genius.
Genius or serial killer.
I don't even buy the genius thing, but I'm going to say it and kind of wish that it were true.
The only other option is a psycho serial killer.
Yeah, it could be. Well, you'll know what I was wearing, though.
It was a black T-shirt and jeans. Oh, Eric.
Yeah. Oh, we know that guy. Yeah. Another middle-aged guy with black T-shirt and jeans.
Oh,
okay.
Sorry.
Who's he trying to impress?
I laughed so hard I started choking there.
Yeah.
And coughing. All right. Yeah. You ready for this?
You okay?
Yes.
All right.
Biden yesterday on the success of American foreign policy.
Here we go.
Compared to 4 years ago, America is stronger. Our alliances are stronger. Our adversaries and competitors are weaker. We have not gone to war to make these things happen. During my presidency, I've increased America's power at every dimension. We've increased our diplomatic power.
So compared to 4 years ago, America is stronger. That's the quote from Biden. Wall Street Journal had a couple of comments on that from foreign policy.
All right.
Biden's greatest failure has been the collapse of U.S. deterrence against adversaries who have been on the march. Mr. Biden's chaotic flight from Afghanistan sent a message of weakness that Vladimir Putin, China, and the mullahs of Iran saw as a moment to move. Israel has reestablished some deterrence against Iran, but little thanks to Mr. Biden, who has opposed nearly every military decision by Israel, and they didn't put this in here, but he also stopped the Trump policy of making sure they couldn't get their oil money to fund their terrorist proxies.
Right.
And Biden, right to it, soon as he became in, first day, making sure that Iran had the money in order to fund Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis in Yemen.
Yep.
And everybody knows it.
Right.
And then they write, the president might have regained some credibility had he asked Congress to begin rebuilding U.S. defenses. Instead, he proposed a cut in defense after inflation in every one of his budgets. He leaves Mr. Trump having to rebuild the military amid a budget deficit in the range of $2 trillion a year, thanks to his blowout domestic spending. If this is a strong hand, what would a weak one look like?
Yeah, right. No, great points. You look at the terrorism superstate that is Afghanistan now, and the botched exit of Afghanistan.
And lying to the American public about what the general said.
All along the way, lying to everybody, trying to get the then president of Afghanistan to help him in that lying. And that's where we are today as a result of his lack of leadership. And you can't, there's no way around it. You point out Iran. He's the one person in the world, the one person who had control and decided to go with Iran being able to get their funding in order to fund the proxies. He's the one person in the world single-handedly has allowed Iran to fund tens of millions of dollars to their proxies. Could have stopped it, could have kept what Trump had in place, but nope, wasn't going to do that. It's a much more dangerous world as a result of Joe Biden's presidency, and there is zero ways you can debate what I just said.
when you look at where Biden stood on the issues and then the influence peddling, Biden is really what the American public and what Democrats have consistently said is the absolute thing that they hate the most in a politician. Democrats have said it for a long time. When you look at the influence peddling, when you look at their support, I mean, David Weiss, the special prosecutor, came out with his analysis yesterday of Hunter Biden and then went after Joe Biden. But Hunter Biden, that was all part of the influence peddling that Joe approved to enrich his family. And then Joe Biden lied about it to the American public over and over again, that he knew nothing about it, when his, over the last decade, maybe 10 to 15 years, his whole purpose was to enrich his family using his position that he was elected to by the American public to enrich his family.
Yep.
And Weiss, and forget about, the whole portion of Weiss, because Weiss has his own problems himself in the past, and the whole thing of, and then, Joe attacking the Justice Department, and this is uncalled for, and everything else. Well, something in this Department of Justice, you should be criticized a lot, not for what he talked about with Hunter Biden, but a whole ton of other things that we've talked about before, including when it comes to, well, why did you let the statute of limitations lapse on some of the, on some of the tax charges earlier? You were willing to give him. I mean, you deserve to be criticized because David Weiss was willing to let him skate on a ton of stuff. They would have let him skate with a horrible deal, and Weiss made it clear this has nothing to do with drugs. This has to do with he was wanting to not pay his taxes, and Joe knew about it all. Joe knew about it all and lied about it to the American public. And you look at it, the Biden presidency with the influence peddling, which his son, wanted to evade his taxes. Two things that Americans hate about politicians: when they don't pay their taxes, and when they are involved in influence peddling, using their position, their elected position, to make money. And that's what Biden did. And Biden knew about his son not paying his taxes, and Biden lied even in the pardon and talked about the fact that he had drug problems. None of that related. And then when you look at where he stood on the issues, the open border, he didn't give a damn about Americans. One of the things that you and I brought up during COVID, everybody needs, you need to get the shot, or, we need to close schools. We need, if you don't take it, you need to, stay at home. If you don't take the vaccination, you could lose, you lose your job, whatever. And then keeping the southern border open, and didn't give a damn about COVID coming into the country at all.
Right.
When you look at the border just in general, and how that blew up in his face, and his administration's pathological line about it, that the border was secure. What he did and what he agreed with going after, remember the two Border Patrol agents that they accused of whipping? How they destroyed those Border Patrol agents for a political narrative that was a complete lie.
Right.
Reprehensible. Biden is everything that Americans hate about politicians. On the spending, he was told, he thought, I can spend and spend. I'll buy people's support with borrowed money from future generations.
Yep.
And then he got burned, even when liberal economists from the Obama administration said, don't do this, don't approve it, don't support this. It's going to cause irreparable harm to the American public with inflation, and it's exactly what it happened, and he didn't give a damn.
Nope. No, he doesn't care.
His support, I know he came out against it, but he was for it. And that was defunding the police. He was for the entire narrative, the complete false narrative that police departments are systemically racist to hunt down and kill blacks. That was a lie that he proposed. He told one of the biggest race lies ever in order to divide people by race by saying that the Georgia election law, which has massive approval, when you ask, as they did in, after that law was passed in 2022, I believe it was, what was your satisfaction? Satisfaction, participation through the roof, and he called it, the Georgia election law, Jim Crow.
Yep.
Now, anybody knows what Jim Crow is who lived through it, understood that he was telling a lie to separate people, to make people hate each other based on a lie. Joe Biden did what his buddies used to do that he used to hang around with, who were segregationists. He did the same thing that the KKK and the white Aryan nations would do, and that's lie in order to enrage one race against another.
Yep.
Joe Biden is the worst of what Americans hate in a politician. He's the worst in what Americans hate, both in what he stood for on the actual issues, the pathological line to the American public, to the point of gaslighting, where we said one time, he knows he's lying, the press knows he's lying, the people know he's lying, Biden knows and his administration knows that everybody knows that they're lying, and they still continue to lie, and the mainstream media, for the most part, just went, oh, okay, nothing's really going on here at all.
Right. And then they get down to the last few weeks here, and then the media's, oh, why did we underreport his cognitive issues? They're trying this weird mea culpa on their part to do to what end? This entire crazy show over the last 4 years, everybody could see it. Everybody knew what was going on. We didn't hear any outrage from the left.
Nope.
None.
No. Well, there is the Democratic Party has now accepted influence peddling, and they're okay if a president's family, if a president is part of the conspiracy of influence peddling, and if family members don't pay their taxes, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay if they evade taxes.
Right.
As long as it's the right person, Democrats, now, and I'm talking the Democrat voter, is okay with it.
Yeah, there's no outrage.
No outrage. There was no outrage at all. None.
Nope.
In fact, not paying your taxes has become a father loves his son.
That's what it was. That was the entire narrative.
Influence peddling has become a father loves his son.
Mm-hmm.
How dare you object?
Right. He's smoking crack. He has a problem.
866-90 Red Eye.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Yeah, so when you want to wrap up the Biden administration, I think if you look at, professionally, which is, again, where they stood officially on the issues, call that professionally or whatever, were wrong on all the major issues. And we know that because when Kamala Harris was appointed, when they kicked Joe to the curb, she wanted to reverse course. She was trying to convince the American public that she was more Trump than Trump was.
Yeah.
And so that was the admission from Democrats themselves that where we stood on the issues was completely wrong. Now, they know that. They show no indication of changing. But the other part, I think even the most important part, because this is a line that really, I don't believe, has ever been crossed like this, where the influence peddling and the acceptance of enriching a family a political family. I don't think this has ever happened. I don't know any presidency where this has happened, where this amount, where millions of dollars, where the family and Joe Biden and his family set up a scheme to influence, peddle, and enrich his family to tens of millions of dollars. And then when that happens, and one of the family members gets caught not paying their taxes, the entire Democratic Party and media are okay with it. There was no problem with it. In fact, they did everything they could to protect and hide what was going on, and still today are not upset about it. And you saw it, from the media. Well, it was just a father who loved his son.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. This is about a father and a son and brothers who said, let's make money off your public service, because we know that the media won't call you on it. They'll hide it. And if one of us doesn't pay our taxes, the media will hide it, and Democrats won't care, because all we want is power and money.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, good riddance, go. But you're the worst of what America hates in their politicians, Joe Biden.
Yep. That's his legacy.
Yep.
Catch all 5 hours of the show live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. All right, here, I'm reading this again. Make Greenland great again.
Okay.
No, because you can't. Mega. No.
No.
No, no, it should be Greenland awesome, Greenland America. Gaga.
Mm.
And if we if as Joy Reese says, we're going to take over California, then it'll be California awesome, California America, caca.
That's true. You could keep MAGA on Greenland. Make all Greenland America.
America. Okay. All right. Okay. You can keep MAGA. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, the California thing is messy. But once we get all the people from Alberta here and get all the California liberals up there, then it'll all be done. It'll take a few days. Maybe Governor Abbott in Texas can help with buses. Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. I tell you, though, when I watched that video yesterday, the 90-minute video, going through Pacific Palisades, and it was like an hour and a half, and I watched like 30 minutes of it, and it just got to be so depressing. And I will say this, so I mean, you do look at it, you do have a lot of questions. You're like, how does a fire like that move? Because the portion that he was going down, I think they call it the alphabet streets there. And so you're talking about a, very suburban area, as I mentioned before. It's not, for example, mansions on a hill and they own 10 acres each and there's forest land all around them. This is a subdivision.
Right.
And a big subdivision. And it was just, and it was just that. And the whoever was doing it wasn't talking. He was just driving down the streets, and you were looking at, and the camera was just to the side, so you could see, probably it was on the dashboard, but it was focused towards the side of the street so you
Right.
could see it.
Yeah.
And you'd see burned house, burned house, burned house, burned house, burned house, burned house, a house completely untouched. You know
Wow.
what it reminded me of a little bit?
Hmm.
And we were just up there and went by the site a couple of days ago. The last commercial airline flight that crashed in the United States was just a couple miles from my father's house in Clarence Center, New York, the Colgan Air crash. And you go by that crash site, there's a memorial set up. And you cannot believe that a plane crashed there because there's a lot, and there's a house next door and the other house next door. The plane came straight down into the ground.
Oh, wow.
Right into the house, killed one person, blew the mother and daughter right out of the house. They lived. It blew them right out. But it stalled, so it came straight down. And that's what it reminded me of. And there's a horror every time I think about that, because I imagine if you were living next door going, what in the hell's going on?
Right.
But you see that, and then they went into this one cul-de-sac, completely destroyed except one house, completely untouched. I mean, the grass, the garden, everything was perfect. And it's just like, how? I mean, it's just it's so devastating to see that, and I just can't imagine. And I was talking to a friend of mine, and she's got a lot of friends, and I was asking her yesterday, I said, do you know anybody? She said, yeah. She said, I don't know anybody personally, but I know people whose relatives, that their house is gone.
Right.
And it's just so incredibly sad. And somebody posted it was under the headline, "White liberal women are the worst." And this woman saying, I know if you're a Republican or a conservative, I know how you feel. You're happy that this happened. And you know how I know it? And she basically was saying, because if a hurricane or tornado hits Texas or Florida or any other red state, she's happy that it happens. And it was like, how sick are you?
Wow. Well, again,
How
we
sick are
explained
you?
that this is how they think when they say things.
Yeah.
You have to think, well, my gosh, why is it that they make these accusations against the other side all the time? It's because it's how they think.
Yeah.
And that's a prime example. Thinking, well, people who disagree with me must love this because I love it when people I disagree with suffer. That's morbid.
I know. But I'm glad you brought that up, because we had talked about that a long time ago when we said, how come, and this is when, and we've been in talk radio decades, so we've heard it all. But we'd have an opinion and somebody go, that's racist. What do you mean? How's this opinion racist? They could never explain it. Well, because you hold that opinion. Well, no, you got to explain to me why. And then one time we realized, well, any position we have, the opposition, which is the left, is saying that it's racist. And one day we woke up and went, oh, that's how they think.
Right.
They're the party that practices identity politics. They judge people by groups and not individuals. That discussion, by the way, has been going on the last couple of weeks from intellectually honest Democrats saying identity politics is destroying us.
Well,
identity politics is racism. So it's like, oh, that's how you think. And when you think that way, we tend to project it on other people. If I think this way, then they've got to be worse than I am. Well, I don't think that way.
No.
I don't judge people by groups. I judge people by individuals, except on St. Patrick's Day when everybody is Irish. But that's inclusive.
There you go. Well, but and in this case, if you're looking to help someone, well, we go back to the FEMA thing with the hurricanes.
Yeah.
We'll be selective in who we help. That's a culture that is deeply embedded into way too many people. And it's in part a generational thing, but it really is a cultural thing. On the left, it lives there. Well, we're not going to do this. We're not going to. And then what do? Well, in order to justify it, will deem those houses dangerous. The people there could be a danger to us. Well, you need to admit it. You just don't want to help them because of the way they vote, because of who they vote for. This is the left, and the left has been proudly saying things like this for a while, for a long time. They pointed out over and over again that they want harm done to people they disagree with. They certainly don't want to help anybody they disagree with. I can't imagine being that way.
By the way, I objected to the headline of it that white women liberals are the worst. No, she is.
Yeah. Right.
No, she as an individual is. I disagreed with the actual headline promoting, even though I did chuckle a little bit. But, you know, I've mentioned a neighbor of mine who back in August went on social media and said, if you're voting for Trump, I don't want anything to do with you. Unfriend me now. These are people I've been very, very friendly with. And as I told you, there was one time when I came home, this goes back years ago. I came back home from a trip, and I came home on 4th of July. And they were sort of in the street. It wasn't an official block party, but they were playing games in the street. Everybody's in the driveway. And I pulled into my driveway and got out of my car and was going to get my mail. And I'm very friendly with all of them, always have been. And they said, "Oh, Gary, there he is. And come on over. And it's the wife and, you know, her relatives, two of, I can't remember who they were, how they were related to her, but two guys, she had to introduce me to them because they were such huge fans. This is even before Red Eye, fans of you and I. And I can still remember. It's because it always makes me laugh. And they were like, wow, Gary Mack. She goes, you know him? And one of her relatives looked at her and said, do you know who this is? It's like, and I looked at her, I said, yes, do you know who I am? Do you understand how privileged you are? Okay, no, I really didn't say that. But they were just huge fans of the show.
Yeah.
So she knows, you know, my politics. But when she said unfriend, I went, well, okay. I'm not going to argue with her, so I unfriended her. I did check back later on, and she took the post down. But I would do anything in the world for that family.
Yeah.
They had problems. I'd be there in a minute. Wouldn't even think about it. Wouldn't even enter my mind.
Right.
That's a different place and time to have that.
Right.
I would wait till after I helped her and she felt so guilty, and then I would throw that in her face that I'm a good person.
Right. And you put on your MAGA hat and then walk away.
No, but I did tell you what happened, though. My neighbor next to me, I'm really good friends with them. You know, got a couple of older kids and, you know, living at home still, and so they've got cars in their driveway. But right before Election Day, she put up all the signs, you know, after she had already said, don't anybody, you know, if you're voting for Trump, I don't want to, you know, you're no longer, you know, unfriend me now. And she put up all the signs, you know, Biden, you know, love is love, hate is hate, money is money.
Yeah.
Can you think of anything else?
Weed is weed.
Weed is weed. And when I came home early in the morning that morning, after Election Day, the signs were gone really quick. My neighbor next door, I don't even know what his politics are. But this was like, it was in December. It was a month afterwards. And all the cars were out of the driveway, and I didn't even see he had a Trump sign right there. I mean, they looked right across the street and saw a Trump sign. I'm thinking, wow, are they talking?
Yeah.
So then I wanted to get into the whole soap opera aspect of it.
Right.
Oh, speaking of soap opera, did you see, was it Eric Braeden, is that his name? Victor on Young and the Restless. Do you know who he is?
Yeah, I know who he is.
Yeah, okay, yeah. His house gone.
Oh.
And
Wow.
they had, it was TMZ or somebody, the BBC, TMZ or one of the driving him around.
Oh, wow.
And it was interesting because it was like, he's such that character that when he's talking, you're like, well, this is like a soap opera, but it's like, but it was all serious. But
Right.
he talked about, he was almost in tears and, talked about how much the home meant to him and his neighbors and everything else.
Yeah.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's your whole life. I mean, when you think about people that have lived there, and if you've lived in any setting, my wife and I, the house we own now, I've lived in this house longer than I've lived in any house in my life, even as a child. And I can't imagine. Because we talk about sometimes, all right, maybe move out into the country or something when we retire. But when you leave a home behind, I mean, it's all the memories and everything. But then when it's destroyed, I can't imagine. We've had a small house fire, but nothing like what these people are going through, where everything is destroyed. There's nothing left. It's your entire life.
And when you see people that are affected by a disaster like that, I know my parents were the first ones that instilled into me, you help people no matter what.
Oh, yeah.
Boy Scouts also helped me. I know you were in Boy Scouts also, but that's the culture that I'm in. You don't think about that. You just help people. And I'm so glad that's the culture that I grew up in. I can't imagine looking and going, I'm not going to help that people in this horrible time because they voted for Obama.
It seems unnatural to me. It seems like you have to work to be that hateful.
Yeah, it does.
You have to go out of your way.
It's foreign. It's a foreign concept to me.
It is.
866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. It's going to be an interesting week next week, isn't it? I mean, just to see this transition happen, because it's going to be probably one of the most radical transitions from one administration to the other. I don't mean radical in a bad way. I mean radical in the difference between what the new administration wants to accomplish versus the last administration.
Yeah. Trump will make good on some promises on the executive orders, no doubt. But they're going to have to, the GOP is also going to have to hit the ground running on Capitol Hill, which they kind of already have done. They've got some things in motion. So the agenda is underway. It will be very interesting to see it start playing out officially.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across the USA, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
All right, so it's set. Donald Trump's presidential inauguration events will feature performances by Carrie Underwood, The Village People, and Lee Greenwood.
All right.
Underwood issued a statement on Monday saying she is honored to be able to perform as Trump takes the oath of office on January 20th. I love our country, and I am honored to have been asked to sing at the inauguration and be a small part of this historic event. She told Associated Press, I'm humbled to answer the call at a time when we must all come together in the spirit of unity and looking at the future. And yes, I believe that by the end of next week, we will be unified as a nation.
Finally.
Okay, I added that last part in.
Well, we pointed out, though, that Trump is the great unifier.
No, you're right. We did.
Biden put on a Trump hat.
Yes.
In 2024.
Oh, you're right. I have to backtrack on my sarcasm. Because
Kamala Harris became strong on the border.
Right.
It's hard to say without laughing.
Okay, we have got a new narrative now. Donald Trump, the great uniter, will take office next Monday.
That's right.
And how do we know? Because when the Democrats enacted their coup against Biden and appointed Harris, she took all of Trump's positions.
Right.
Why? Because Trump was unifying the nation on where he stood on the issues, and that's how you unify.
Right.
You unify not by personality, not by ethnicity, not by sex, not by sexual orientation, not by gender identity. You unite based on the issues that we all agree on, and that's what Trump did. Trump, the great uniter. Thank you, Eric, for setting me straight on what my opinion was 2 months ago.
Kamala agrees.
And having the village people there with all their different culture.
Their different culture and their different careers.
Yes, exactly. Diversity of career choices.
Believe it or not all the village people are cops. Which is why I quit running from them a long time ago. There's only one cop. Well, he's not going to catch me. Backstage autograph. Walk up. What are you, a cop?
Oh, my gosh. What are you, a cop?
What are you, a cop? Yeah.
Russell the pharmacist on 2.5 Men. What a great role.
Martin Mull, greatness.
Oh, man. You know something? I watched about a year ago. I remember the movie FM?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When it came out?
Oh, yeah. Right.
Had to be the late 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 78, 79, something like that. Maybe 77.
Yeah,
Martin Mull.
77. I think we looked this up.
And it's when I, was starting in radio and all that, so I had a great interest in it. And I went, wow. Well, I watched it about a year ago, and really it was about this, it was about, all right, man, we're the cool FM station.
Yeah.
We're playing all these eclectic songs that nobody else would play. They were a soft rock station.
Hey.
I was listening to the music. It's like, well, you're playing Linda Ronstadt. The only thing that they played that might have been viewed as eclectic or, okay, you chose to play something a little bit different was, if you remember the movie, Tom Petty was in studio, and Tom Petty was new back then.
Mm-hmm.
And they played the Outlaws in the background, Green Grass and High Tides. Other than that, they were playing Dan Fogelberg and Linda Ronstadt and Hall & Oates. Right. I'm like, well, they're not this radical avant-garde station. They're a soft adult contemporary station. And remember, the owner wanted to come in and they protested and went on strike and took over the radio station for Hall & Oates.
Rebelling for James Taylor?
Right.
Are you kidding me?
Jeez.
Hey, can you turn that acoustic down, please? You kids with your loud acoustic music and whatnot.
Play more Minnie Riperton.
You're going to put the neighbors to sleep. Yeah, I got to complain about my neighbor. Yeah, what is it? It's his music. Is it keeping you awake? No, well, it's putting me to sleep.
I hadn't watched it in decades. I hadn't watched the movie in decades. I just remember way back then when it was on. I'm like, oh, okay, so they're like one of the, the prog rock eclectic stations.
Yeah.
That even that I grew up with in the mid '70s that came along and really had some interesting characters.
Yeah.
But they were playing they were playing music that nobody else was playing.
Right. Yeah.
Well, in FM, the station was playing everything that every radio station was playing.
Right.
Well, then what was the difference?
Right.
I do remember, I can't think of the guy. Is he the same guy that played the manager of the guy that was the recruiter from the Army that came in to sell them Army ads? Because that was the whole thing.
Yeah, I forget who that was.
And they were supposed to. And wasn't that the guy that was Was he the guy that was? No, it wasn't the same guy. I'm thinking the manager of in Spinal Tap. Remember the blonde hair?
Yeah,
guy?
you're right. Yeah.
Okay, I don't think it was the same guy. But the Army recruiter comes in. Hey, let's smoke a joint. It's like he's the Army recruiter in the 70s. I'm like, okay, you might be taking a few liberties there.
Yeah,
or the
maybe.
he was the marketing guy, for the Army coming in. Oh, you play all these spots and let's do a doobie. Oh, by the way, here are the Doobie Brothers. And when they played the Doobie Brothers, it was a Michael McDonald song.
Right.
By the way, I do think it is cool that they all tour together now. That Tom Johnston and Michael McDonald is in it.
Yeah.
Even though I was more of an early Doobie Brothers than a late Doobies, you got to have them all in there. That's
right.
So.
Well, I'll say this too. We talked about the Rick Beato on YouTube. Great follow. Great. He's a professor of music. Great musician. Does some great interviews, and he took issue with the whole yacht rock.
Oh, yes. Oh, that was great. I watched it. Yes.
I have a problem with yacht rock, it being called that for another reason. I see his points, but because there's he runs down the list of musicians and that they include Steely Dan.
I know. It's like Steely Dan.
And pretty much Michael McDonald, who's saying background on, people don't know this, every song that was released between 1976 and 1982. You don't know this, but it's true. But I have a problem with it being called yacht rock because I'm thinking, no, if you listen to this kind of music, you're not motivated enough to be rich and wealthy enough to own a yacht. So, no, that's not getting you. That's not getting you that title. Yeah,
I like that.
You got to be motivated, even punk rock.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
And there was no punk rock, I don't think, either in that in that FM station.
Yeah, right. No, well,
WKRP was more eclectic.
Yeah, that's true.
Than the station on FM,
right.
and they were an AM station.
That's true. Yeah.
And,
Rebels.
And I think WKRP came out after FM.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, remember the whole pirate radio thing?
Yeah.
And now people set up transmitters for their Christmas music to go along with their lights in their yard. This is an unlicensed. That's Ned. We wish you a Merry Christmas. It's next door. Call the FCC. Yeah. Yeah. You couldn't do a pirate thing these days, right? Pirate radio. Can't do that. Because anybody can have a YouTube channel or a podcast.
Yeah, that's true.
Anybody can broadcast. You are the media. You are the pirates.
Well, no, but I mean, we touched on that the other day. By the way, I love how we meld topics into one another.
Yeah,
So
right.
Sometimes,
and this is sober.
Sometimes we're actually pretty average. But we talk about the whole thing on X and where Facebook is going. And by the way, the left's going crazy on this.
Oh, yeah.
The left is now calling this is all fascism because they had no problem when the billionaires said, all right, let's censor the right. But now that they say, okay, let's have community notes where the community corrects you on it, which is the ultimate in free speech. If you look at it, now that has become fascism. They're going crazy. You go on social media, they're going crazy on it, especially if you find, some leftist politician who's still left on X and the response, to that. But I will say this. Biden yesterday posted something about his speech at the State Department. I went through a couple of hundred of them. there were probably out of the 200 that I went through comments, maybe 2 were positive. That was it. Everything else was negative.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, okay, is this an indication? But then I went on other, different sites on X where, it was the, whatever, a leftist publication, whatever, and they were there. And the one thing they're really hitting very, very hard is the fact that with X and Facebook right now, that free speech is gone because they wish to promote free speech. And all I have to do is come to the conclusion is the left has no idea what free speech is. To them, free speech is we get to say what we want and you get censored.
Yeah, right.
And that's not hyperbole.
No.
I wish it was hyperbole.
No, that's spot on. That's spot on. Hey, but it's where they are. John Kerry really just said it out loud. That free speech gets in the way. It blocks our agenda. That's what he said.
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton wants prison sentences for liars. That same,
I know.
that same Hillary Clinton. Consecutive life sentences for her. And and we've said for a long time, we touched on it earlier, when they accuse the other side of doing something. Well, perfect example.
Hillary.
Russian collusion.
Yeah.
They were working with Iggy Danchenko, a Russian national.
Yeah.
They were working with Russians to put the whole Russian collusion hoax together.
Right. They were working with a Russian national
Yeah.
to come up with a lie
Right.
that Trump was colluding with the Russians.
Right. I mean,
That is 100% true.
whatever
There's
they're
nothing-
accusing the other side of
Right. It's exactly what they're doing.
is exactly what they're doing and exactly how they operate and exactly how they think. And I'm hoping what we're seeing here is a true awakening of people going, all right, we really are done with this, because you've been saying for a long time, look, at some point they have to change. Well, I don't know if they'll change.
But you
But
have
the
more the public
reception,
is. Yeah.
the reception to, what they're doing, I think very well could be changing. I hope that is the case. It's not going to happen overnight, but I think 24 was a big year in that regard. I hope it keeps going in that direction. Because people recognize, they now look at it and go, oh my gosh. I think one thing, the video of Trump or of Obama sitting down and laughing it up with Trump at Carter's funeral
Oh,
was something that the left said, well, all right, we've said it a few times before, but here it is. How can you call the guy Hitler, but then sit and laugh with him at a funeral? Biden at the White House welcoming, hey, welcome back.
yeah.
All smiles, the whole thing. Welcome back? Are you kidding me? And you called the guy, he's Hitler one moment. Welcome back, Hitler? No, the left is going, because he never was Hitler.
Something that was interesting because Pete Ducey asked, or I don't know if it's Pete Ducey, somebody asked Karine Jean-Pierre yesterday, now with Biden gone, who's the leader of the Democratic Party? Who knows?
And your guess is
as
good as mine.
Who is it?
Yeah.
Who is it? Who is it by default? Are they going to try? I haven't seen it yet. They're going to try to make Newsom a hero.
Wow. I think you go in a different direction there. Find somebody else.
Nothing would surprise me, though.
Well,
Newsom's
who
the
else is it?
victim.
Right. Who else is there? Who else is in place right now? Who else would it be? It's not Schumer. It's not Nancy. It's not Jeffries. It's not any of them
It's
on
not
Capitol Hill.
It's not AOC.
I don't think it's anybody on Capitol Hill right now.
No.
So, I don't know.
866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at JJ Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on roadside inspections. Once a roadside inspection is completed, the officer will close it out, which involves the officer writing or typing up the report. The more the officer found during the inspection, the longer this will take. If violations were discovered, most officers, as a courtesy, will explain the violations to the driver. If there were any out-of-service violations, the officer will normally explain what must be done to get the out-of-service order lifted. Drivers need to be very attentive during this part of the inspection. The driver also needs to read and understand the complete inspection report. After receiving the inspection report, the driver has 24 hours to get the roadside inspection report to the motor carrier. If the driver will not be returning to a company facility within the next 24 hours, the driver needs to know to get it on the way to you via email, mail, or fax within 24 hours. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller & Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. Here's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Coming up following the bottom of the hour, we'll hear from a former liberal, and I mean real former liberal, and she identifies the problems that the Democrats have with the wildfires in California. So that coming up here in a little bit. And also, more evidence that the culture is changing.
Yeah. The winds of change.
Well, the funny thing is, you and I have worked together now 20 years coming up, so there's a lot of things that have happened that we can share. I mean, we can still go, wow, remember that?
We remember a number of things in this regard, especially. Yeah.
If you want to hang out or use the restroom at Starbucks, you're going to have to buy something.
Yeah. Which pretty much has been the policy of every gas station, convenience store ever, right? I mean, it's like, okay, buy a pack of gum, something. You got to buy something if you want to come in. But in the case of Starbucks, remember, they opened that whole thing up.
Oh,
we welcome everybody. And now we still welcome everybody, but you better bring money. And it's the way it should be.
No. We welcome everyone with money.
That's right.
Who's willing to spend it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not going to spend money, get out.
You got to bring money. Everyone is welcome.
That's not really unifying, is it?
Sure it is. Because everyone with money is included.
Catch all 5 hours of the show live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here. You know, just going back to the how much our culture is changing and what is evidence of that. And just brought up the story from yesterday. If you want to hang out or use a restroom at Starbucks, you're going to have to buy something. Starbucks yesterday said it was reversing a policy that invited everyone into its stores. A new code of conduct, which will be posted in all company-owned North American stores, also bans discrimination or harassment, consumption of outside alcohol, smoking, vaping, drug use, and panhandling. Starbucks spokesperson said the new rules are designed to help prioritize paying customers.
Wait a minute. What?
Anderson said, most other retailers have these rules already.
Like every gas station and convenience store ever.
Oh, my God. This is great. Like they just discovered this. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Wow. Other stores really prioritize the paying customer. We haven't been doing that. We need to do that. We want everyone to feel welcome and comfortable in our stores, as long as you're buying something.
Exactly.
By setting clear expectations for behavior and use of our spaces, we can create a better environment for everyone. The Code of Conduct warns that violators will be asked to leave and say the store may call law enforcement if necessary. They may call the police. Starbucks calling the police.
We're going to call the cops, or at least the guy from the Village People.
The new rules reverse an open door policy put in place in 2018.
Well, it's open, but the key, it's kind of open. You kind of need a key, which is in the form of money.
The new rules reverse an open door policy put in place in 2019 after two men were arrested at a Philadelphia Starbucks where they had gone for a business meeting. The individual store had a policy of asking non-paying customers to leave, and the men hadn't bought anything, but the arrest, which was caught on video, was a major embarrassment for the company. At the time, Starbucks chairman Howard Schultz said he didn't want people to feel less than if they were refused access. Excuse me. Quote, less than, end of quote, less than, if they were refused access. We don't want to become a public bathroom, but we're going to make the right decision 100% of the time and give people the key. Wow. Then by the time they got to 2022, Starbucks closed 16 stores around the country, including 6 in Los Angeles and 6 in Seattle for repeated safety issues, including drug use and other disruptive behaviors that threaten the staff.
Imagine.
The new rule comes as part of a push by Starbucks' new chairman to reinvigorate the chain's sagging sales.
Well, and, a lot of that happened when protesters were, it was actually after October 7th, and you had protesters showing up at their stores. You had, a number of things that have nothing to do with your brand until you kind of fold it into your brand. You have to know what your purpose is in business. This whole idea of, I heard I think it's an older bit, Dennis Leary going off on the Starbucks thing. And he's like, hey, just give me a coffee-flavored coffee, would you? Because I'm not here to write poetry on my laptop. But this idea of, well, we'll just open it to anybody and everybody. You're in business to sell coffee. We go back years with Schultz, and it's real simple. Hey, we got some great coffee. Order it the way you like it. We'll put your name on the cup. That's what we do. We sell coffee. That's the only answer I would ever have as the chairman.
Didn't it start with you're not invited if you're carrying? Wasn't that Starbucks?
I
thought that was Starbucks saying you're not invited into the store if you're, even if it's legal in the state or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Well, they posted something at a couple of stores, I think, and then someone had Schultz on to talk about it, I think. A couple of the stores had posted it on the door that you can't carry inside of Starbucks and the whole thing.
Well, apparently the policy didn't work. I mean, we had talked about when they closed the stores in Seattle and in L.A. because they weren't safe based on the policy that they set up. Right. That was the Starbucks policy. And then remember, I mean, I can't believe this is almost 10 years ago. It was 10 years ago where Starbucks stopped asking the baristas to write race on customers' cups so the baristas could have a conversation with their customers on race relations. And I'm reading here, I went to Google and put in AI. The campaign was criticized for being inappropriate and opportunistic, especially in light of recent racially charged events. Some people said that the campaign was not well thought out and that it would be awkward for baristas to ask strangers about race.
Imagine the meeting. Imagine the meeting. All right, folks. Hey, thank you for being part of the Starbucks team. I just want to introduce something new. All right, this will be part of. Make sure, okay, you take the order, you get that right, okay, and then you work quickly to get that order produced and then back to them. But right before you hand it to them, write something extremely controversial, pretty much start a fight, and then hand them their coffee and dare them to fight with you. Start an argument. It was the stupidest idea ever.
Now, the one thing that he did help me with, because remember, he put out it was a one-page ad, like in major newspapers across the country, talking about race and saying, for example, that said, how many people know the race of everybody on their street?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, it's like, you should know that. No, and our answer was, no, you should not.
Right. Yeah, the guy that's keeping a tally is the one that probably has a problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Right.
But I did do it, and I realized I'm a minority on my street.
Yeah.
I'm a marginalized person on my street. And now I stay in my house and never come out because people look different than me.
Oh. Can you imagine?
Is that the answer people? Is that the answer the left wanted to hear?
Right. But imagine thinking that way. Hey, you need to start writing it down. Keep a tally. What? Keep track. You should know every single one. Don't say that to anyone, ever.
When your neighbor's coming up.
How did you make CEO?
And you've got the list in front of you.
Yeah.
Joe Black.
Hey, welcome to the neighborhood watch meeting. I want to start with something. It's a list. What?
And you've got this list. It's like your neighbors would be reporting to the cops.
Right.
He's got a list and our race on the list.
He sits on his porch.
Right. And he said, well, I just followed what Howard Schultz told me to do to pay attention to the race of people. So I'm putting your name and your race, and I'm watching you very closely.
You should know every single one on your street.
I need to get to know who you are.
What? Yeah. Start by going door to door.
And
if you can, take pictures. What?
So you can be reminded.
Exactly.
And put them on your refrigerator.
Right.
When the neighbors come in, they look at your refrigerator. What the hell's going on here?
What's this weird?
Why does this guy have all...
Am I in an episode of CSI Miami?
And it's all zoom, like from a telephoto lens there.
Exactly.
Zoom lens here. And he's got pictures of all of his neighbors.
Right.
And then he has next to them the color of their skin or their ethnicity.
Why do you have a camera and a tripod and a chair by your window? What is...
I was just following what Starbucks told me to do.
Right.
That's all.
Yeah. Maybe you should try decaf. What? You should know everyone on your block. Start by going door to door.
Now, the real point we were trying to make is, no, you shouldn't. Why? Because the correct way to think is, I don't care.
Right. I don't know them by their ethnicity, their background.
Right.
My gosh.
When I meet them, I know them as individuals. I shake their hand. If you ever need anything, I'm there for you.
I counted 24 Irishmen on the way to the store.
Get the hell out of that neighborhood.
I wouldn't stay. But I mean, But that's, well, the theme of the show again. It's how they think.
Yeah. You're right. It's how they think.
You should know the entire lineup of all your neighbors. What?
I like that voice you have. That voice scares me. If the guy doing it has that voice that's monitoring his neighbors, I'm the hell out.
Yeah. Listen, I'm working on my 4th cup here, but I'm going to tell you something. You should have a list. Feel free to interview them all. What? Yeah, really get to know them, if you know what I mean.
Our point is, look how much the culture of the nation has changed based on how the culture of Starbucks has changed.
Well,
it's just an indication of what people now are sick and tired of.
We said it back then. What do? Well, we sell coffee.
Yeah.
And any conversation comes up, all I know is we have the best coffee in the world. In fact, we have multiple different flavors. You can we'll make the coffee the way you want it, and we'll put your name on it and nothing else about race. And we want you to come back. I mean, you basically have people addicted to a product.
It's a liquid drug, as we've said.
You
before.
really just need to be nice about it and don't be a jerk. That's all you need to do. And don't be weird.
We're selling the liquid drug caffeine.
Don't say weird things like, right. You should know what kind of gasoline your neighbor uses in his mower. Don't just come get your coffee. It's a legal drug. Every morning, make your routine about us before you do anything. Come on in. We'll make you coffee. You want it extra strong? Great. 2 or 3 extra shots. Come on.
Yeah, it used to be paranoid when you went in there. They'd say, black or cream?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I don't know how I'm supposed to answer that question.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because you had to make it weird. Everybody loves coffee. Come on in. We got coffee.
Exactly. And a 3-week-old pastry
and
there in the
you're
shelf.
overcharging it for it and getting away with it. People voluntarily give you way too much money for your product. How about you just keep it at that? Don't get weird and stupid.
See, the other thing is the fight. If you go to the competitor, Tim Hortons, for example, up north,
yeah, right,
and now coming down, some of them coming down south now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the fact that the young people have no idea who Tim Horton is.
Yeah, right.
They don't know that he's a hockey player,
right,
that played for the Leafs,
right,
and the Buffalo Sabres.
And in the South, they may not even know what hockey is.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. And people go, I've been in stores where go, what's that hockey player on the wall for?
Yeah,
that's Tim Horton.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah.
866-90 Red Eye.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen to our podcast right after our show is over. The show becomes a podcast. So,
that's right.
If you're not up overnight anymore, whatever, you can listen then. If you're up overnight and not able to get us on one of our great radio stations, we stream all 5 hours live.
Yep. You can listen
on our app.
You can listen. You could listen around the clock.
Yes.
We have questions for you if you do.
And coming up after the top of the hour for our last hour, a former liberal analyzes what's going on in California. And we mean a former liberal.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Worked for the New York Times.
Right.
A former liberal who has rejected what the Democratic Party has become.
Yeah.
Coming up.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.